Iran has played its last trump card, the tactic of mining the Strait of Hormuz. As part of this terrifying strategy, at least 12 Maham 3 and Maham 7 limpet mines were laid. Tehran was pursuing a flawless plan. At first, they succeeded. However, the firepower Washington brought to the table was of a kind that would overshadow even Tehran's darkest nightmares. The U.S. war machine, operating at full capacity, unleashed a devastating aerial bombardment storm that tore through the sky. The legendary A-10 Warthog's deadly 30mm cannons pounded the dark waters of the Strait of Hormuz, and Tehran's plan to choke the global economy had already sunk to the bottom. In fact, a deployment was made yesterday that could rewrite the strait's fate. The U.S. military was aware that it could not secure control of the region through air operations alone. In this context, it surprised Tehran by making an asymmetric move directly from the sea surface. In an official statement to Reuters on March 26, Pentagon spokesperson Tim Hawkins confirmed for the first time that unmanned drone boats were patrolling the Strait of Hormuz during Operation Epic Fury. The U.S. had deployed robotic speedboats to the Gulf, and according to many experts, the time for this had long since come. The new player deployed to the field was the GARC, a 5-meter-long autonomous speedboat produced by Maryland-based Black Sea Technologies. These vessels, capable of fully autonomous navigation, patrolled for over 450 hours during the operation. They can also travel over 2,200 nautical miles. The primary missions of these vessels were surveillance and providing early warning. However, when necessary, they can also be used as direct kamikaze attack vehicles against Iran's fast attack boats. Early in the conflict, Iran had attacked oil tankers twice using naval drones. The U.S. had faced criticism for being slow to respond to this asymmetric threat. But with the deployment of these autonomous vessels, it finally began to play its own game. As this new autonomous shield on the sea surface came into play, the truly devastating blow was about to come from the sky. As we reached the end of March during this critical phase, Trump issued the order for the final decisive strike to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The preparation for this order was carried out as part of a massive plan. The U.S. launched one of the heaviest and most extensive aerial bombardment operations in its history. Iran's capacity to block the strait began to crumble within hours. This story is not merely a tale of war. It has become a turning point determining the fate of global energy security, because Donald Trump had to in some way reopen the Strait of Hormuz to global logistics. In pursuit of this goal, we faced perhaps the most effective move since the onset of this crisis. A deep silence reigned along the Iranian coast of the Strait of Hormuz. But this silence was the calm before the storm, because at that very moment, U.S. bomber aircraft had set their course toward Iran's most heavily fortified underground facilities. The target was crystal clear: missile silos and weapons depots belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, buried deep within mountain slopes. These were no ordinary facilities. They had been under construction for decades. They were reinforced with thick layers of concrete and rock. It was nearly impossible to destroy them with conventional bombs. But the weapon that made its debut that night was anything but conventional. The GBU-72 Advanced 5K Penetrator, a new generation bunker-busting bomb developed by the U.S. Air Force. Weighing exactly 5,000 pounds, or approximately 2,270 kilograms, equipped with GPS and INS guidance systems, this bomb can reach its target with an accuracy of just a few meters day or night, regardless of clouds or smoke. This advantage was fully reflected in that high-risk area in the Strait of Hormuz. The GBU-72, positioned right in the middle of these two extremes, offered a solution that was both powerful and flexible. Multiple bombs of this type were dropped on hardened targets along the northern shore of the Strait of Hormuz. These targets were underground caves where Iran stored its anti-ship cruise missiles. Deadly missiles like the Nur, Qadar, and Abu Mahdi, which fly at sea level to target ships, were hidden there. The Noor is the Iranian version of China's C-82 missile and has a range of 120 to 170 kilometers. Qadar, an upgraded version of Noor, covers a wide area of the strait with a range of 200 to 300 kilometers. Abu Mahdi is the most dangerous of the three. With a range exceeding 1,000 kilometers, it can even strike ships in the Gulf of Oman. However, these military assets were crushed under the weight of U.S. airstrikes in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian mobile launchers, missile radar relays, and intelligence support points were also on the target list. The GBU-72 accelerated using kinetic energy after being dropped from high altitude and struck the target. Its thick steel body penetrated concrete and rock. It has the capacity to penetrate over 60 meters of soil or over 20 meters of reinforced concrete. Thanks to its delayed fuse, it detonated only after fully penetrating the target. The shockwave collapsed the underground structures from within. Iran's decades-old underground infrastructure was reduced to rubble in a single night. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper made the statement very clear. Iran's capacity to threaten shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has been significantly weakened. According to Admiral Cooper, Iran's missile stockpile has been reduced to 90%. Their fleets were rendered immobile. This was a military revolution that unfolded in a single night, and the GBU-72 had made history by being used in a real war for the first time. But according to the U.S., this was not enough to restore security to the Strait of Hormuz, because even though Iran's underground silos and missile launch pads had been destroyed, there were still threats moving on the surface of the strait, small but extremely deadly threats. Just 2 days after the GBU-72 made its combat debut, the U.S. announced its second move. During a briefing at the Pentagon, U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Air Force General Dan Kane clearly highlighted this second striking element. He was referring to the A-10 Thunderbolt II, the legendary aircraft known to everyone as the Warthog. The new mission of this platform, designed in the 1970s in the Strait of Hormuz, was critical, because the targets of these aircraft in the second phase attack were IRGC-affiliated fast attack boats. These small but agile vessels operated using swarm tactics. Dozens of boats could simultaneously attack a tanker from different angles. Attacks were being carried out at close range against commercial ships passing through the strait, particularly oil tankers. The A-10 Warthog was the ideal weapon against this asymmetric maritime threat, because at the heart of the A-10 is a 30mm 7-barreled rotary cannon, the GAU-8 Avenger. It can fire 3,900 rounds per minute. Its armor-piercing rounds can shred a small fast attack boat in seconds. But the A-10's true power doesn't come solely from its cannon. This aircraft's true critical feature is its ability to fly low and slow. It flies at propeller-driven aircraft speeds, not jet speeds. This allows it to patrol the target area for hours on end. It can also carry AGM-65 Maverick missiles and rockets as secondary weapons. In other words, the A-10 serves as both a long-endurance surveillance platform and a combat machine capable of delivering immediate firepower. According to CENTCOM's official statement, A-10s were using all these game-changing capabilities to hunt and destroy Iranian boats in the Strait of Hormuz. Additionally, AH-64E Apache attack helicopters were operating in full coordination with the A-10s, using Hellfire missiles and 30mm cannons. They were taking out mobile threats near the coast one by one. This dual combination completely neutralized Iran's swarm tactics. The small boat fleet that had previously blocked 27% of strait traffic began suffering heavy losses. The IRGC's hundreds of fast attack boats had now become targets themselves. Moreover, the A-10's long loiter time allowed mine-clearing ships to operate much more safely, because while the A-10s were in the air, no Iranian boat could surface to lay mines. This aircraft became the second key weapon to unlock the strait. But the operation's impact was not limited to the destruction of military vehicles on the ground. the key figure directing the weapons and tactical maneuvers, was also eliminated. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced to the world the critical nighttime operation that altered the course of the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. Admiral Ali Reza Tangsiri, commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, was killed in an Israeli airstrike carried out in the strategic port city of Bandar Abbas in southern Iran. This was no ordinary military casualty. Tangsiri was the highest-ranking Iranian officer directly responsible for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and mine-laying operations. Katz presented this operation as a sign of their close partnership with President Donald Trump, and he sent a very clear message to the Iranian leadership: "We will track you down one by one." Confirmation of this strategic